and I get to talk longer. When I was growing up, my father had a very light hand on me, which I appreciated. Let me make my own mistakes and learn from them, as painful as that was. And then, when I went to law school, I had the opportunity to work for him for 3 years. And I knew I couldn't work for him as a lawyer because they had no nepotism. But I got the chance to work for him for 3 years, and I realized that he had skills. beyond what I ever knew. And I remember we would, because I lived at home during law school, we would get into the car and we would, argue like father and son on the drive down. But when we got there, it was very clear. He was my boss, and I was learning from him. And I will always appreciate those 3 years that I spent with you, which I also spent with Mike. But Mike and I were the scared clerks in the library at the time. But I want to thank you for that. And I have always been grateful for that time. And I will say, and you will know later why, you are timeless.
Here, here, here. Cheers to you.
Jim.
Cheers, Jim. Big Jim.
Thank
Big Jim.
Thank God for the nepotism rule.
Yeah, I will say one thing about it. So,
That's great.
Okay, this is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll be done. So I went and I interviewed at my current employer, and I was meeting with the trial lawyers at the time, and one of them asked me, well, why aren't you going to work for your dad? And I said, well, they have a no nepotism policy. And Jerry Newbro looked at me and he goes, when did they adopt it? And I said, I'm going to like you guys. So, I'm done now. Cheers.
And now,
Jim.
Another brother and another son. I have a true story about my father and me, and I have a false story, a fake story about
Alternate
fact story about my father and his childhood. The true story is, and this is actually one of the beautiful things about our father, is that he let you be a lawyer, and he allowed me not to be a lawyer. And I did my very best. I tried. Johnny was my tutor. And I tried. And you tried. And I graduated from St. Olaf. I came into the conditional program at Drake Law, and it did not work. And when I got D's instead of the B's that were required, I still remember my father saying, what are you going to do next? And it was a release that only a father can give to his son. The fake story, when my father was a small child, this is a fake story. When my father was a small child and he was in elementary school and the teacher said to him, what do you want to be when you grow up, Jim? Jim said, I want to be 90. And so you are. Happy birthday.
Connie's got a little statement to make.
Jim was not my first love, but he is my best love.
Yeah. It's your best love.
close.
Talk, 'cause I claim Jim as my adopted dad, so I'm gonna be the third kid here.
Perfect.
Jim gave me one of the best gifts ever, which was Mike. When we lost Mike, I don't know if everybody knows this, but every Monday, Jim and Connie had me over to their house. They said, we're just going to plan on it. Every Monday, you come over for dinner. And I always had that place to go, and the fire was going, and we had dinner, and we got through that first year. And when Bill came into my life, they were very happy and very excited. And Jim walked me down the aisle and gave me away.
That was
To
the
this
nicest
day, when I tell people that story, they just say, oh, so they know how special you are. And he still reminds me that when he gave me away and walked me down the aisle, what did I tell you to do?
Sit down.
Sit down. I love it.
I can't remember.
Yes, she said it.
Yes, she did.
Sit down. I didn't know that. What was
I was right behind her. But I said, I got to give you away.
But then he became the best grandpa any kids could have and adopted our kids like their own. And all the years when I had a shoot or something and somebody had to go pick up Joe, Grandpa was there, and they had a really special relationship, both the kids, but you were there picking up the guy who always forgot that Grandpa, this was the day he was going to pick you up. And you waited in the parking lot for an hour, and he never showed up. He forgot Grandpa was going to pick him up. And then when I said, did he remember? And you always lied for him and said, yeah, he was right there. So you were his partner in crime during all those years. And you've just been such a special part of our life and our hearts, and my adopted dad. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Tender.
That is a tough act to follow, but I'm going to try. As you figured out, I came to know Jim about the same time that John mentioned that he started working. I started with the firm as a clerk before graduated from college. And it's funny, as John was giving his toast, it reminded me of my experience with Jim. And to describe him as having a right hand is so appropriate. I don't know what it was like for other associates in the firm. I imagine it was a heavier hand or something. But with me, maybe it was because John was into the fire. And if I ever caught fire, he'd make sure I got pulled out and things were taken care of. And that happened more than I like to remember. But couldn't have been a better mentor, example, just the greatest firm to learn how to practice law and the best example of how to practice law within that. I'm so blessed. And then when the time came for me to look elsewhere, no one was more supportive, no one was more encouraging, and I think probably no one next to me was more happy than when I was appointed on the bench. And nothing but support since then, and the transition now that Sue and I have with you and Connie really has circled back to more of a family relationship. Like that undercurrent has always been there, and I just you've been like a father to me all these years, and thank you for all of that, the various stages that our lives have been through, and I look forward to many more. Thank you so much, Jim. Love you.
Cheers. Cheers.
Can I say one? Oh,
You go next time. Go ahead.
I would just like to say a nice memory from all the grandkids was every Christmas you would always pull out your magic scissors. And it mainly had to happen because we were known for getting into our presents too early, so my mom learned she had to staple and double duct tape everything so that we wouldn't peek into our presents. So when it came time to coming around, we'd always have to go up to Grandpa and say, Grandpa, can you get out the magic scissors?
That's what you do.
And that's when you knew. And he would pull out his magic scissors and, oh! And you, honestly, at the end of every Christmas, you were the one that opened up all the magic for us.
Oh. Jim, I want to thank you for being the best father-in-law imaginable. It's interesting, I come from a mostly female family, all sisters, mostly granddaughters, and yet I feel like I have lived a life so rich in good men. My dad was a sweet person who is with me daily, and I count you as one of my most important guides. I remember talking with you about all the major decisions I've made across the last 33 years, and it didn't matter what I said, you were always behind it. You've championed everybody you've loved, the big, open, full heart. You were I've got to say this, I think I really wrote a quite boring dissertation, and you were the only person who read it besides my advisors and Jamie. And it was funny, you kept insisting on reading it, and I thought you were being so generous that I kept saying I would get it to you, and I didn't, and then finally you insisted on it, so I gave it to you. And you made the comment that helped me to turn one point that I really needed to look at differently, and I'll never forget that. I also want to say that I think about the adventures we've been on across the years. Haven't we done a lot of fun things together? I mean, all that time in New England that we had, all those different adventures in Wyoming and Mexico, you have showed us the world, and I'm very thankful to call you my father-in-law, and I love you.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Okay, well, I'll go. Jim, I remember, so John and I picked out this little house on 42nd and Foster Drive. John did not like this house at all.
First lesson.
And we were getting married, and I loved this house, and isn't this great? And John's like, I don't think it's that great, but anyway, so he came home one night, and he said, my dad says, if you love the house, then we should buy it, and that will be a happy marriage. And thank you so much, because that started a very happy marriage.
Well, I tell you, I'm going to come around again.
Going to have another birthday. That's good. And I am not a family member, but when I was appointed to the bench, the first lawyer that came to see me was you.
And what did I do?
You gave me a huge kiss. I really think there's something wrong with that.
I did it in your office.
You did it in my office. You gave me a big hug and a kiss. And I needed that because I was scared. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
I can do something a little bit more lighthearted, I guess. So I take Jim and Connie out to the grocery store. Thank you. On their shoulder, if you will. And Jim likes to wander off quite a bit, and he's always kind of behind us, so I lose him. But I always know where he is, and what I've learned is that even though he has macular degeneration, he always knows where to find the pellet baloney.
That's perfect.
So,
I have one
we don't.
I'd like to say too. From another grandkid perspective, my mom bringing this up reminded me that of all the times that Grandpa would always be out on the church lot waving, waiting for us to pick us up. And he's been, I'm just really lucky to have the grandparents in my life. I'm so close to home that I've had my whole life. And I know that that's a huge blessing. And Grandpa's the first one to look at you in the middle of a sentence and be like, well, aren't you wonderful? Sometimes you just need to hear that. So thank you for being such a part of my life. Every birthday, every holiday.
So, I will wrap this up by saying, we don't care what anybody else says. We love you. And we want you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
To the apex and the epitome.
There you go.
Maybe we should sing.
All right, so,
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jim. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
Let both of us live this long.
Great.
We're 90.
Great.
Look at us now. I finally caught up with you.
Story City. And I tell you, I wish I had brought it. I don't know where in the world these cards come from. This one is even more unusual than these beautiful cards that you've given me. And I'm so sorry that I didn't bring it because it was I know I'm not, because I don't think I should show it to anybody. I can't, it's so tender.
My 93-year-old cousin sent him this lovely card.
Kathleen and Aaron were such good friends. And I just wish you could have seen this card. I don't know where she would ever got it.
She probably got it in the gift shop down in the care facility.
We'll come by. Almost had a bonus.
We'll just drop by tonight.
So did you think you were going to make it to 90?
I kind of hope to turn this over and have a nice party when I was 91.
You had a wonderful party.
This has been a grand party.
This has been a
Grand
wonderful,
party.
fun party.
And I'll tell you, I've had people work so hard. Teachers did. No. But they worked so hard to put this party together. I want to thank them.
They did a beautiful job.
I got so many lawyers around me, I don't know. There are two of them that I really think are entitled to a lot of accolades. Getting this menu together and all the things that they did, and then along comes the girl I grabbed behind the desk and gave her a
You were
kiss.
lucky. You were lucky.
They brought me a big flower.
Will you look at this?
I was
The granddom and her two granddaughters on either side of her. I'm telling them. And they're going, what?
We learned from the best.
You know what's going to happen with these two girls.
because you really just, it's so nice having you come down. The big northern court and
Well, not yet, but you're young.
There's time.
There's time. There's plenty of time.
But if you can make time for me out of this beautiful place that you have out there.
Well, we'll be out come spring.
Jim, I want to say that we're all thankful that you decided to rally and have a party on your 90th.
You got your hemlock, there was a pine knot, I'm a camper, can't you see?